He hasn't answered yet.
This whole time?
Hello. Hi. How are you? Absolutely. Just a moment. I'm not very familiar with Skype, but I'm sure we can make it work.
That's it.
You see
That's
me
fine.
now.
See you later.
Hello. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Are you too busy? Do you have enough time on this particular day?
Yeah, no, it's fine. No problem.
Okay,
Everything's good.
because I know this is kind of an exciting day, an important day, especially
Yeah,
here.
It is. Remember, of course, that depending on whether it's Mountain Time or Eastern Standard Time, we're ahead.
5 hours.
You know, the polls haven't even closed yet.
I just
What part of
looked.
US are you in, my love? Whereabouts are you?
I'm in the U.S. I'm in the Boston area, Massachusetts. So
Okay,
close to
right,
New
so
York.
Excuse the dog jumping up.
No, please take your time. Not to worry.
It's quite what I'd call a British part of America, isn't it? There's
Absolutely.
old buildings there.
Very British. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, old buildings there.
Yeah.
The dog is just saying hello, so we'll just...
Hello, dog. I'm familiar. I apologize. I'm not familiar with the dog's name, but of course I've seen the dog on the shows.
Oh, that's fine. This dog is called Freya,
Hi, Freya.
which is named after the let's put it there. The goddess Freya in Norwegian mythology. Her sled or her, I don't know what it was, like a sort of coach really, was pulled by white cats.
Really?
This is not a white cat.
I had an all-white cat. He passed away 6 months ago, but I had him for 20 years.
That's incredible. So I've got 2 white cats now.
Do you? One is a long hair. I've seen one. I don't know if I've seen the other. I had a short-haired domestic white cat. His name was Sneaky.
Before we go, you must show me the picture of the white cat. I would love to see
Be
that.
happy to show you, absolutely. And thank you for taking the time, especially on this day. I really appreciate it.
That's fine. So listen, hey, tell me, how did you first come across me, Kate? Was it from a friend's recommendation, or did you find me yourself?
It wasn't. I found you myself. I wasn't really interested in anything, I have to be honest. Like, pretty much, I've always been a seeker, and I've always been a big weirdo. Most of my life, certainly unconventional. Not fitting in with other people, but not in a sad or lonely way. I was always fine, but definitely not, definitely on a different wavelength. But I wasn't into anything. I was not raised with any religion, nothing like that. So I wasn't even into anything spiritual, I would say. Nothing. Zero, zip, zilch. Until my mother passed away, and that would be the 13th year. So 2013, she died. And then everything went really fast, and everything opened up really quickly. As far as interest in spirituality, interest in extraterrestrials, interest in all this stuff just kind of cracked wide open. And so I just started on a YouTube journey, and you were the first ones I found. And when I heard your story, I said, this man he doesn't give 2 shits for what people think about him. He goes out and he says to, we're considering the public here, he says outrageous things. And then he runs for political office. I said, this man is unbelievable, and I feel, very respectful of him and very interested in his opinions. And so I started listening to you around 7 years ago. And at that time, I would say it was much more interesting to me to find out soul origins and stuff like that. At this time, I see how it makes less of a difference. Maybe where you're from, just considering that you're human on this planet at this time.
That's true.
Is a big deal, but it doesn't mean I'm not interested. I'm still interested, of course.
Of course, my love. I think what you've advanced and you've become more aware that, we shouldn't get caught up in the small details. We need to see the bigger picture, and I hear what you're saying to me. Well, that's nice, and I'm glad that I was a part of your development, a part of your waking up, and that's partly why I did this, to just say to everybody out there, don't take the crap any longer. Can't
be ashamed of how you feel, even if it's very different.
Sure. Now, what's important for you today, Kate? What do we need to do?
It's not going to take a very long time, but considering that that's the reason that I wanted to talk to you in the first place, I'd like to find out if you have any impression. You have a particular gift of being able to look at people and being able to perhaps understand their lineage a bit, so I'd like to hear about that.
Listen, Kate, I'm really happy to do that, but what about the big issue that you haven't mentioned to me yet, the thing that's hiding behind what we always call the elephant in the room, really, in Britain. You know, was that to do with your childhood, or did that come a bit later in life?
Elephant in the room. You're gonna kill me, and if you
shouldn't
have
be frightened, I know.
of what? If you have any psychic ability at all, you need to tell me what you're seeing.
All right. Well, okay. Here's where we go with this. If I tell you what I see, then it's Simon told me this.
Okay, I
And
understand.
you don't have any emotional buy into it. So what I do with my clients is I ask questions which give the soul in your body the chance to overcome your programming in your brain and for it to then start to do it. Because otherwise you don't buy into it. It's, you know,
Somebody told me
I have
this.
lots of clients who say that, you know, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And when I ask them, who told you that? And they tell me, and I say, do you have any knowledge of that? No, I don't. I say, well, how do you know it's true? So what I'm going to do, Kate, I'm just going to ask you some really, really easy questions.
Great.
I'm just going to shut the door.
Of course, take your time, please.
Crazy.
Take your time. Take your time.
What? I'm going to sit in the chair. Hey, it's a good one. Sit. Sit there. Sit. Sit. Good girl. See if she can be a girl. Right. So I need you just to look at the camera for a little bit. Just relax. These are really easy questions. Here we go. You ready?
Yes.
Good. Are you left or right-handed?
Right-handed.
What's your favourite colour?
Pink.
Okay. Numbers on this planet, we call it numerology. What's the number that means most to you?
12.
Final question. Skype cameras, they're not so good at seeing the colour of someone's eyes. Based on the soul in your body, your eyes should have some green in them. What colour are your eyes?
They're hazel, so they're green and brown. They're golden.
That's great. That's what your soul should have. See, if I take my glasses off, you can't actually see the colour of my eyes, can you?
Grey blue.
They're green.
Are they?
Yeah, Skype doesn't show colour at all, but based on the soul in your body, I said that you should have some green in them. Okay, that's fine. That matches. That's very good. Right. Have you consulted a psychic person before?
I have. It hasn't gone anywhere special.
All right. Did they get a little bit when they saw? Did they find it difficult to talk to you?
Yes. Some woman said she felt so much energy and perhaps colors around me that it was difficult for her to differentiate.
So nobody's been truthful with you, Kate. Right, I'm going to be truthful with you because, like you said, I don't give a shit.
No, please.
I've got nothing bad to tell you.
Okay.
That's the first start off. I've got nothing bad to tell you. The soul in your body is 100% good.
Okay.
There's no evil in you, but you have been attacked. Somebody, a Satanist or a black magician, in the past has tried to control you, and you can tell me what you know about that. But it failed. It didn't work. Okay? So that's the first thing.
That is.
Now, you are, in the true sense of the word, a witch. In America, they call it Wiccan.
Yes.
But you're a witch, which is good. I'm giving you a compliment. All my best friends are witches.
Good.
Okay?
Great.
Now, you're connected to Atlantis. You are part of the Divine Feminine group, which means that you're conflicted. Today, 2020, you have great sadness, great confusion, and yet you have great love and great energy. So it's not that there's anything wrong with you, it's just that you're slightly out of balance, and we can put that right. Does any of that make sense to you?
Absolutely, 100%.
Good. Okay, great. Are you 5'6"?
No.
Are you a lot taller?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Are you around the 5'9" mark?
I'm 5'11".
So you're very tall. All right. Okay. The soul in your body is not actually reptilian. Most people have this vision that somebody who's full of energy, it must be reptilian if they're very tall. That's not the case. you are a higher human. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the soul reading because it's important that you understand my vision of who you are. But then I think I want to talk about some of the things that have made your life difficult in recent times.
Okay. Sure.
Is that all right?
Absolutely,
So
yes.
there'll be a lot of chance for you to ask questions.
Yes.
Right. Now, first of all, there is a God. All right. A lot of people have a problem with this. I don't. There is a God. It's a real God. But it's not a man that sits in a chair and floats in the clouds.
No.
But this creator literally makes us from nothing. If you think of a blank sheet of paper, Kate, it has the potential for me to draw on it with a pen. And then somehow this God can create it. So when we're created, we need a contract. But not a contract between us and God. That's wrong. It's a contract with ourselves. And so what God says to us is, okay, now that you're here, where do you want to start your journey? And we get the choice for where we want to go. Now, on this planet, I'm going to hold this ruler up. We are taught that time is in a line.
Yes,
so we are
not.
taught that if I'm here, okay,
Yeah.
and you're here, you must be better than me because you're further ahead. Think of a book. It's got a beginning, a middle, and end. But when we understand that time comes back on itself, it doesn't actually matter where we start our journey. What matters is what do we learn from it.
Right.
So most people, when asked this question, they look at Earth and they say, I want to go there. And they come straight here and they have lifetimes here. And that's a problem because when they arrive here, they have no concept of right or wrong. They've no previous history and they're very easy to program. They're very easy to lie to. I call those people Earth humans.
Right.
And they make up about 3/4 of the planet. You're not like that. When you were asked where do you want to go, you actually chose somewhere else, and then you only came here at a much later date. Which means, Kate, that when you arrived here, you already knew the difference between right and wrong. You were already different. And I call you higher human. You're in a human form, like me, but you come from a higher dimension. So if you walk into a room with 100 people in it, you might only find one person that you can get on with. It may even be less than that.
Yes.
And a lot of people are going to have a problem with you, Kate, because they feel, they're going to feel you're too pushy. They're going to feel you're too powerful. They're going to feel that you think a lot of yourself. What I'm telling you is that's not your problem. It's their problem, and I'll explain that as we go through it.
Thank you.
Right, so you're higher human. You're not from this reality at all. This is the third dimension.
Right.
Like me, you didn't come here straight off. You came here later. We're going to find you. So I'm going to leave the third dimension, go into the fourth. And I divide the fourth into two parts. The lower fourth, where all the bad guys are, and then the upper fourth, which is not too bad. You have a strong connection to the upper fourth. There are two major dynasties in the upper fourth. One is the Orion Empire, built the pyramids in ancient Egypt, and the other is the Sirius Federation.
Thank you. Bingo.
You have a strong connection to Sirius.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have had many, many lifetimes there. However, that would be exciting enough, but you're far more complicated. This is what's happened. And we'll explain some of the problems that you've got. So, your soul is upper fourth dimension, and you came here. But you did something that many people in your position can't do. You actually became a divine feminine in Atlantis. Now, Atlantis was a place where only women could form the top layer of government.
Really?
And you are connected to crystals, and it's either going to be a clear quartz crystal or an amethyst. These are your crystals. And what the women did a long time ago was they would be connected to a particular crystal. They would stand by it. Their physical body would remain here, but their soul or their essence would go up to the dimensions. And what you've done, because you've done this,
Go ahead.
Hang on a second.
Please. Okay.
So upper fourth dimension, coming straight to Earth, but at a time what we would call Atlantis. And so your physical body is standing by the crystal, but you leave your body and you travel up the dimensions, and you have made it to the very top. You made it to the 12th dimension. Now the thing is that connection cannot be broken. Now, you've returned back to your body, but although your soul is upper fourth dimension, you have an ongoing connection to the 12th dimension. And this is the problem that a lot of women predominantly, but some men will have, because when they meet you, they get this image of what I would call the upper fourth dimension, which is packet here, and then there's this divine 12th dimensional female, and they can't cope with it. So it isn't your problem, it's their problem because they're not evolved enough. So you're very psychic, you have the ability of being incredibly psychic, and you should be.
Please go ahead, please don't worry.
That's okay.
That's okay.
I've switched the thing on to block all the calls.
Oh, good. Alright, let's call him back. I'm so sorry. Somebody called me at that very moment, and I hung up on you by accident. Let me put my speaker back on my...
Everyone wants a piece of this, I think.
I think so. Okay.
Right.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so what we have is a situation where you have two types of energy. Don't misunderstand me. There's just one soul in you, but you have two types of energy. It's a bit conflicting. It's like Monday morning, you could be a whirlwind, and the Monday afternoon you'd be exhausted and tired. You could be very depressed on one day and really frenetic and full of energy another.
Yes.
If that is the way it is, that's normal.
Yeah.
Okay? All right? But it will mean that you have difficulties with relationships, all sorts of relationships.
Yeah.
You will attract the wrong sort of people to you, but you'll also attract the right sort of people. This is because the energy that you have is confusing to many people, but also they can be addicted to it. So some could want to try and steal your energy because they're quite connected. You have a connection to the pharaohs in ancient Egypt.
Wow.
Very strong. And the soul in your body is higher human, which means it's human, but it's not earth human. So you are very different from the people around you. You were very different from an early age. Either you felt different or they looked crazy to you.
Yes.
Never really understand them. So nothing bad. It's just that perhaps you hadn't fully understood who you were. Oh, and the other thing is, and here's the real problem for many people, you're actually coming from a royal line. So there is a royal line in you, which means that it would be lovely for you to have people who would fold your clothes, do all the work for you, arrange your itinerary, because thousands and thousands of years ago, that's what was done for you.
Wow.
And now, of course, in this age, those of us who've had that background, we can't do that anymore. We have to do our own work.
Yes.
And that's part of our learning. You know, when you've been a ruler or you've had great influence, you have to balance it by being, with the ordinary people. Although you are different and special, you're still in with the ordinary people. So it's about that learning process. So I meant it. I said, I've got nothing bad to tell you. These are only good things. But it produces conflict. within
Yeah.
ourselves and the people around you. So that's
Sure.
what I think. Probably a lot of you probably need to ask me a lot of questions.
I have a few. Well, first of all, thank you. That was really excellent, very succinct, and very much what I expected. If you're going to expect
Okay.
something, I thought maybe it was along those lines. I didn't expect that I was reptilian in any way, not that I have anything against them. But funny enough, so I did before I knew anything about past lives or simultaneous lives, etc. When I was a child, it felt like a memory, or it could have been a vision, but it felt like something Egyptian, and it felt like something
Yeah.
high up,
Yes.
like a high up chair. And I said to myself, "This is bizarre." And I said, I only remember it because it made a very strong impression on me. And
Okay.
I also remember it because as I was learning about previous lives or simultaneous lives,
Yes.
many people make a joke and they say, "Oh, everybody thinks of themselves as if they were something special in the past or simultaneously, you know? They think they were a ruler, they think they were in charge of something when they probably were a farmer and lived in the basement." Right? And I went, "Right, you're right. What a silly thing." And now that you say that, I'm reminded of that.
You absolutely. What you're remembering is one of the ceremonies where, as a divine feminine, within the true Egypt. I don't mean the history that we're given. We're talking about.
It didn't seem as familiar as it should if it was
you
Egyptian.
would actually be sitting up on a chair because these were your subjects. You weren't the queen.
No.
But these were subjects, and that you had some responsibility or role.
That's what it felt like.
That's a real life memory from maybe 15,000 years ago that has stayed very strong. Look, I know there's the joke. Everyone who goes into the hospital thinks they're Napoleon, or everyone this, that, and the other. But, you know, I'm telling you the truth. This is who you were and what you were, and I don't want you to lose that. In other words, there's a part of you which is very royal, like what I would call a typical princess. That is who you are. Don't fight it. If others have a problem, it's their problem. Okay? You come from a very special line of family, and you've got nothing to be ashamed of. The problem is fitting in on this earth, in this time frame, is damn difficult. Would have been easier for you 100 years ago, because 100 years ago you'd have been totally kept yourself to yourself. Totally. In 100 years' time, people like you and I will be accepted a lot more than we are now. This is the changeover time. All right, now I wanted to particularly ask you about a difficult time in your life, either with a relationship or an organization that you joined that might not have helped you. Can you remember anything like that?
Well, of course. I mean, every relationship I've had has been difficult. So, like, where do you want to start as far as that goes?
Tell me what you think is relevant.
A difficult time in my life? Well, I would say that what I mentioned already, which was the spiritual acceleration, is when my mother died. So I was very close to her. She was a single mother, and I don't have much other family. So when she passed away, it was kind of like my whole family had died. And that was very devastating. And that was in 2013, like I said. And that took a lot of time to recover from. And that was I was suicidal. I was a mess. I took drugs. I drank. I lost all my possessions. I was really suicidal. So,
what brought you back then? How did you bounce back?
How did I bounce back? Honestly, I just think I'm protected in some way, and it just took time. I can't take any credit for my for my recovery, except that I did not die through whatever grace of whatever. And the time has been long enough now that I've learned a lot, like I said. When that happened, not in the first year, but, you know, in the years after, that's also when the interest in spirituality or, you know, extraterrestrials or any kind of learning happened.
Sure.
So just from that, I would say that was the catalyst. So anyway, that was the particularly difficult time, and then the years following that were also very bad. I would say up until like 2 or 3 years ago is when I started to fully recover and get my sense back and get my feet back on the ground. But I am very good today. As far as that, I'm fine today. I don't drink, I don't take drugs, I don't do anything self-destructive, thank God.
The thing is that, Kate, you will still be getting alien experiences. You see, your connection is so strong.
I wanted to ask you.
Visit you. You will never be alone from it.
I wanted to ask you briefly. I know you're busy, and you have to. I apologize. I have not been keeping track of time. So
okay.
Could you? I'm sorry.
That's all right, my darling. That's fine.
Okay. So, okay. I'm not going to go into every single one because I have quite a few, but the most prominent memory from my childhood is I lived in a one-story home, so my windows were kind of as they are now. You could just look out them, yeah, and just see whoever was there. And I was on the telephone. I was young. I was 12 years old or something, and I looked outside, and there was something looking in my window.
Okay.
I think it was a man.
Right.
I think, but it was really weird. It had never happened before, and
Can you describe what made this so weird? It wasn't a regular face then. What was it like?
I think that's a screen. I don't think that's a real memory. I think that's a screen memory. What was so disturbing is that it was such a. I mean, this was my bedroom, my childhood bedroom. It's such an intimate environment, and I had never had, at least in my conscious awareness, I had never had my privacy interrupted in that way. You know, it's a very personal interruption. I was in my bathrobe. I was only 12 years old. But I look over to the window and there's somebody there. And so it was such an intimate violation. That's what it felt like, and that's what I remember it as. And when I look back, like I said, I see a man. Was it really a man? This had never happened before. Was there really a peeping Tom in my neighborhood, or was there something else going on? So that's the thing, you know, that I remember the most. And I was too frightened to sleep in my own bed. I had to sleep with my mother until I was 13 years old. Okay.
Now think back to that room with that window. How tall do you think that man would be? If you were now in your mind to go outside and think...
Short.
Okay, all right. So how short?
Short enough to look in the window, first of all, and only have this part of your face show.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And he would have had to. He was not 3 feet tall, but he would have had to been at the most 5 feet tall.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if it was I don't know what the fuck it was, but I deal with this stuff a lot.
Presumably a grey of some sort. Must be.
Something was the thing is, like, if for all of all the things to remember, it's just a silly thing, but that really sticks out. And the other thing that sticks out is I was too frightened to ever sleep by myself. I had to sleep with my mother.
I understand. No, I fully understand. And that is, you see, the thing is, Kate, that that's what you remember, but that doesn't mean that's the only time.
Right.
So
right. No, I don't have any memories.
The first occasion, because it's the most traumatic, but then afterwards it's blanked out. So for all you know, you may have had 20, 30, 40, 50...
I don't remember my dreams, Simon, ever. Never, ever do I remember a dream.
No, okay, well that's actually helpful.
Okay.
That's really important, because I probably remember 1 or 2 dreams a year, and what we find is that people who have alien experiences don't actually need to do what other people need to do. Other people need to create fantasies in their head to make a dream, because the brain wants to get rid of that information. But those of us who have these experiences, it's so exciting, we don't need to create that. And it's to do with the way that the brain has been altered. So that, again, for me, is another sign that you are ongoing with what's happening.
Yeah.
But, hey, they haven't killed you. They haven't hurt you.
No.
So it's because of your royal background and that they're fascinated by you. That's what that is. You have incarnated here on Earth. They know you for thousands of years ago. And so they have an interest and they follow you. The last thing on their mind is hurting you. It's about observing you and seeing what you're up to. That's what it is. So you don't be fearful.
Okay.
They're not wanting to hurt you.
Okay. And so what happens now is, once again, don't remember any dreams, so don't know what's going on in the night. But when I go out and I look at the stars, almost every single, not every single one, because not Mars and not the planets and not certain stars, but almost every star moves. Almost every single star. And I'd like to know what that is.
Okay. Do you look at Orion? Have you been drawn to Orion?
Of course. And specifically, there's one star that's very interesting to me. I don't know if it means anything, but it's in his belt. And if you were looking at it from my perspective, it would be on the left side.
Left side. It should be the left with you.
Right. Yes, correct.
Right, there's a reason for that. You see, if I was to look at the star constellation that we would call Sirius, let's forget what the astronomers tell us. Let's forget the scientists, okay? So you and I are standing
It's easy to forget.
at night time in a dark bit of desert looking up. Let's not look at Orion first. Let's look at what we call Sirius. It's more linear. The left-hand part of Sirius, and there's a right hand in the middle. Now what we've got is a feminine part on one side, and as you would expect, a masculine on the other side. Now what we'll find is that, because you do have a connection here, that when there's a connection, if you're coming from one part of it, you want a cat when you live here. If you come from the opposite side, you want a dog. And if you come from the middle, you want a horse. That's what we find time and time again. But the connection between Sirius and Orion is very strong, because when this Earth was being designed, the two groups that ruled here were Orion and Sirius. Orion was the major planet, the very masculine rule control element.
Yeah.
But Sirius is the female side. And there was a lot of exchange between the two. So although you are divine feminine, there's a part of your brain that is masculine. There's a part of your brain, and this is an advantage on a patriarchal planet, okay? There's a part of your brain which is very practical. You are very deep. You calculate a lot in your mind. I don't mean adding figures up, I mean calculating people and their actions. You're a very good judge of people, and you can outthink people. Well, that's because the Orion element would never let you be here without some influence on you. They were never going to let a royal member from Sirius come here and do what she wanted. So they would want to, it's a hard word, I'm sorry, it's inculcate. They would want to train you in their vision. So that although the soul in your body is Sirius, your way of being is more Orion. So you would totally be drawn to Orion's belt and the left-hand star, and you would, although it's very hard to see the Sirius star constellation, these are the two places that mean the most to you.
Okay.
And if you felt that, that's perfectly normal.
All I know is that when I look at the stars, almost all of them move around.
Well, some of the stars won't move around. Some of them will be alien spacecraft.
And some of them will be AI, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, that's what we call the Matrix. They're being projected there for the lesser humans to look at it and say, "Oh, isn't that pretty?" But remember that your background allows you to see the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember, I use my hand. A satellite moves like this. Little white dot moves like that.
No.
But alien spacecraft.
They move like this.
That's exactly right. That's what you're seeing. And most of them will be in infrared. So if you're seeing them, then they're coming out of infrared, decloaking, because they want you to see it. That's
really?
Yeah. Well, these creatures.
Wow.
The technology is so brilliant. You know, on the FBI, take a fingerprint, and that's unique to each man and woman. What these guys do is brain patterns. Our brain patterns are unique. So they don't take fingerprints. They have a database of brain patterns. So
an energy signature.
Thousands of miles up, but they will identify an individual from a brain pattern, and they will say, okay, that's, 47339GG221B.
That's wonderful.
That's what it might call us. But they will know, and they'll say, hey, let's give her a show.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
And off they go. And that's specifically for you to give you confidence that you're on the right path, that you need to understand that the world around you is a lie.
Wow.
So they're supporting you. That's what that's all about.
Wow, it means so much. Thank you for explaining it, because it's disturbing. And it's disturbing when you bring other people out to see, and they do see physically moving, and they say, so what? And they turn around and they go back inside.
Well, I remember my very first client, and she told me that when she was at school, her friends around her would see her eyes change. So her eyes would go into a snake eyes, the complete slit.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she would see them, and she knew what was happening, and she said she would see them shake their head and convince themselves they never saw anything.
Right in front of her.
Yeah, and the next day they'd be perfectly normal.
Yeah, sure.
Because unaware and unevolved humans are not yet at the position where they can accept the truth. That is why we've got all this problem on the planet, because the vast majority of humans actually are really nice people.
Good people.
They're just children.
Yes. Frightened. So frightened. So afraid of everything. And it's so hard and sad. And it's so hard to try to explain to somebody that fear is just a construct. It's just an idea of lack that's not really real.
Well done.
What's really real is what goes on forever. Love.
Sorry, Kate, I didn't mean to be rude and
not at all.
If I took a kid and put her into a dark room, and then I gave that kid a flashlight, why would that kid ever want to turn the light off again and be in the dark? But the problem with humans is that they don't want to see the truth, because the fear of accepting the truth and changing their paradigm
means death.
Is so great, they'd rather live in the dark
and
not be worried.
It means dying to them.
Problem.
Yeah, it's a big problem.
It is, yeah.
It is.
So that's why people like you and me walk into a room of 100 people and we can only find one to talk to.
I talk to everybody, but it's not time well spent. Does that make sense? Okay.
You know, you can't be responsible for other people. You can try, and if that is rejected, then don't waste your time. Go find somebody that's more open and you can bring round to the truth.
Exactly.
Okay. What about black magicians? What about Ouija boards?
Oh my dear Lord. Okay. You're really good. Simon, you're really good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So, I, as a kid, these are memories, again, but they're definitely real. My mom would be at work, so I would be playing with friends in the neighborhood, and I would have us all come together and make Ouija boards.
Yes.
I had never seen one. I didn't know what they were.
But you had in other life.
Yeah. So I'm in 3rd grade, and we're making Ouija boards, and we're making little fake things to move around to use. So this is as a child. Now, okay, and now I have an aunt. She's evil. She's evil person. She's not a good. No, she's a murderer. Okay, she's not a good person. I don't accept. I'm sorry. I don't like murder. I don't think it's right. So.
It's wrong, but nothing shocks me on this planet.
I'm sure. I'm not trying to shock you either. But so she's not a good person. She's very bad. In any case, I lived with her for a little bit. I was trying to restore a relationship. She and my mother were never friends. So after my mother passed, I thought perhaps I could begin a relationship with this woman, as my mother always told, stay away from her. She's bad news. Okay, so anyway, so I was with her living a little bit in Cambridge, Massachusetts, so British sounding, right? Anyway, she's aside from her bad behaviors, she has a bad energy. She has a bad odor. She smells like death. Her mouth smells like dying, death. It's terrible.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Very bad. So anyway, I never really snooped around or looked in her house, but it was the holidays and I was looking for candles. I knew she had long taper candles in some cabinet. So I'm looking around and I'm in her kitchen and I open a cabinet and there's a Ouija board, an old 1960s Ouija board.
Okay.
Underneath everything, first of all. Second of all, I see it and I freak out and the light starts flashing in the room.
Okay, that's interesting.
And I was like, okay, forget it. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Now, hang on a minute, Kate. Did the light flash when you saw it, or did you touch the Ouija board and then it flashed?
I didn't touch it at all. It's after I recognized what it was.
How far away from the Ouija board were you when the light started flashing?
1 foot.
And this is a light in the main light or a little side light?
A main chandelier style light in the middle of the room.
And I know it's difficult because it was a long time ago, but did it flash quickly off and on, or did it flash slowly off and on?
Not slowly, quickly, but not erratic, like a steady pace.
Yeah. And was it like 3 or 4 flashes before it came back on?
5 or 6.
Yeah, okay, fine. All right, that's very helpful. All right, Kate, now that's really, really good. I'm going to ask you lots of really interesting questions.
I can't believe you ask these questions. How do you know these things?
Well, that's why...
That's why you're engaged in this position.
Kate,
Go on.
Well, I suppose that's one reason that I've been offered the job in America, isn't it?
Right.
Yes, because, that somebody thinks I'm worth protecting and moving to the US.
Oh, why? Yes, absolutely.
So let me ask you these questions. They're really simple and really easy. So it's going to be a yes or no answer. Right. Have you ever put a pair of shoes down in a room, and the next time you looked, somebody had moved the pair of shoes to another room? You ever seen that?
Yes. Maybe not shoes, but other things.
Like what?
What has been moved?
Yeah.
Clothing.
All right, that's helpful. All right, let me come back a little bit because I want to come in from another angle. Have you ever been in the home on your own and you've heard footsteps?
Oh, yes.
But you've had that a lot, okay?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard doors opening and closing?
Yes.
Have you ever had a faucet turned on and you go and you find the water's running?
Not that.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. Have you ever heard voices, people talking?
Whistling.
Whistling, that's fine. Don't worry, Kate. I'm not going to think you're crazy. I'm trying to work out whether we're dealing with a poltergeist.
Oh,
or whether we're
no.
dealing with something else. Okay, so
Not-
this is what I'm working on. All right. Have you ever come back from the store and put a handful of change, coins, down in a mess, and then at some point later somebody has stacked them up into a nice neat pile?
No.
You ever seen that?
Oh, no.
Okay, I noticed that you wear earrings.
I do.
Have you ever gone to where you keep your earrings and found that someone has gone through them and tried to change them the way they've been ordered? Like put all the red ones together, put all the green ones together.
No.
Have you ever had personal jewellery suddenly go missing?
Yes. And I've had weird jewelry show up.
Okay, I'm coming to that.
Okay.
Let's just use the term of apartment keys. You've got your apartment keys. Have you ever put the apartment keys down, let's just say on a table, and next time you look, they're not there, and you find them in another room? Have you ever had that?
Once or twice, not often.
There's another point to the question. Have you ever put the apartment keys down on a table? They disappear. You can't find them anywhere. And then you find them in exactly the same place where you left them.
Yes.
That happens more, doesn't it, than the last one? Good. Okay. All right. So, when you're in the home on your own, do you see any other things with you? Do you see any black shapes or shadows?
Yes, it's always peripheral vision, but I'm able and the thing is, you always feel like you're crazy. You don't know if this knowledge.
No, listen to me. You're not crazy.
Okay.
The fact that I'm asking you these questions, either you and I are crazy, or the world is crazy. Actually, the world is crazy.
Thank you.
Just remember that.
I apologize for doubting in that way.
No, darling, it's fine. This is what I do. Is because it's actually showing you that what you're coming out with is normal.
Okay.
It's just that the official people can't face it. Right, so peripheral vision.
So
are you seeing small black shapes moving very quickly, or are you seeing big, tall black shapes?
Both. I've also been touched. I don't have many ghost experiences. Someone else is calling me. I'm going to decline it and hopefully not lose you.
Okay.
There you are. I got you back. Okay, I haven't had many ghost experiences, although I have been physically touched on my foot.
Hang on. Have you been touched on your shoulders?
No.
Have you been touched on your legs?
Yes, but mostly my feet.
Your feet?
Yeah.
So this is when you're in bed?
Yeah.
Think carefully, Kate. Left foot or right foot?
Left foot.
And think carefully, Kate. Is it up towards the toes or is it down more towards the heel?
It's as if someone sat on the end of my bed and leaned their full weight of their back fully onto my upright foot.
Excellent.
Okay.
When you see in the bed, is there any depression or is there no depression at all?
No depression. No depression.
Okay. All right, okay. Now then, what is your connection in any shape or form with the United States military?
Okay, listen, this is an honest answer. Hopefully it's not too scattered or vague. None that I know of, but I have a famous relative who invented part of the steam engine.
Okay.
Okay, and he was in the military, and we had a lot of signed documents from Lincoln and a lot of other signed documents that were very important, and we had a lot of military swords.
Excellent. Good. So I knew there was a connection with military, but I didn't know what it was. Good.
I don't know what it is either.
Okay. Right. Now then, I do think I need to protect you. Don't worry. I don't want any more money from you.
Oh, you can have it.
Is enough. It's fine. The problem with America, it is the most advanced country in the world. And what I need you to get, which will only cost you a few dollars from a thrift store, is going to be very difficult for you to get because America is so advanced. You're a very intelligent woman, and I don't bullshit people, and I'm not being sarcastic. So I need to explain to you not just what you've got to do, but I need to explain why I want you to do it. Because you're the sort of woman that will say, I know you trust me, Kate, but you would like to know the thinking behind it.
Yes, sir. You're right.
Coming from a royal line, and I appreciate that. I've had my time, in previous lifetimes, so I'll treat you as an equal. I don't often do that because it means that the information I impart is quite at a high level.
Oh, please.
It's not that
Please.
I think people are lower than me. It's just that if I start giving them information that blows their mind, they're not going to cope with it.
No.
But I think they can cope with it.
Yeah.
All right. So I need you to find something made of iron metal.
Absolutely. Are we talking gins here?
Well, partly.
Okay.
You've got two types going on here.
Okay.
You've got two types. What we need to do is to get rid of one, then the other.
Okay.
But I'm going to get rid of the one that's affecting your energy. You are, the English word is frenetic. You are like that inside, and I need you to calm down a bit.
Okay.
And this will help. This will actually help you. All right, now then, iron is a metal that we use because this type of entity can't come within 3 feet of a piece of iron.
Any piece, any size, any shape.
It's going to be the size of your hand or bigger, and you're going to put it on the floor under your bed.
Very good. Okay.
So you can go to a thrift store, or we call them a reclamation yard here, where an old house gets knocked down, or a piece from a railroad, but steel won't do.
It's iron only. Is it okay if it's a new piece?
Yeah, it's
okay.
fine.
Because I'll probably just go down to the hardware store and purchase something made of iron as big as my hand.
Right, listen
I'm sorry. Continue.
All right, darling. It's just that a lot of guys are very sexist, and when you go in and you ask for a piece of iron, they'll think you don't know nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So there's a difference. There's what's called mild steel, but people are selling that off as iron. That won't work.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a history lesson.
Okay.
In your country, about 150 years ago, everything was made of iron, big iron girders. The Empire State Building was made of steel girders, but originally everything was made of iron. And the problem with iron is it rusts, particularly in the wetter counties. It actually rusts and it falls apart. So what they did right across the Western world was they said, how do we make a metal that doesn't rust? So when they were making iron in the great big foundries, they were melting it. What they learned was if they kept it in longer, they burnt off all of the impurities. That is steel. So steel is only iron with all the impurities burnt off it. But it is the impurities that these particular entities can't come near. So mild steel is somewhere between the two, and they call it that because they can make these lovely patterns out of it. Okay. Guys can make patterns you can wear around your neck, and that's not going to work. I'm afraid you're going to have to find something that's a bit rusty and a bit old.
Okay. I understand
so
now.
So you're going to get that and put it on the floor under your bed. Okay. Now you can find it. It will be available. You've just got to hunt.
Okay. Well.
You're going to leave it on the floor under your bed for 3 weeks. That's what you've got to do. At some point, Kate, within that 3 weeks, you're going to wake up one morning and feel a big change, a very big change in you.
Okay.
Now, what you have got to do is go on online to some shopping site, and you can buy true iron jewelry, about $15.
Okay.
And they're very popular in Britain. They're in like a snowflake pattern or a little flower pattern.
Okay.
You've got to make sure it's iron and not mild steel, and they'll ship that out to you.
Okay.
So you've got that ready. So you've woken woken up one morning and you feel really better. This is really good. I feel really different. That's when you put the necklace on, put it under your clothes, and that can be the size of your thumbnail. It doesn't need to be big.
Okay.
And you've got to keep that on for 3 weeks as well. Even when you have a shower, you cannot take it off.
Okay.
At the end of that 3 weeks, just take it off if the job is done.
Wow. Okay.
Now I need to explain to you why. Because you can take this. On this planet, for hundreds of thousands of years, magicians of all types have used iron to control these demons. I use iron to send these demons back to where they came from, but unfortunately satanic magicians use it to call them in and cause a problem. But these entities can't come within 3 feet of a piece of iron.
Okay.
They just can't do it. Now I'm going to give you a magic lesson. I'm not going to teach you magic. I'm going to give you the law. Now you're American, so you are at a disadvantage when I come to talk about Europe.
I'm at 50% English.
Do you know a country called Italy?
Yes, I do.
Okay. 2,000 years ago, the Italians had an empire which was called the Roman Empire.
Yes.
And these guys had the biggest empire the world's ever seen. Literally. They didn't have your country, but they had mine. Let's fast forward to about 1500 AD. A group of satanic magicians in Italy decided they wanted to make Italy great again. Don't get confused with Trump. Trump is not a Satanist. He's not. He's a good man. But this group of evil Italian magicians wanted to make Italy great again. Fair enough. So they started to do this black magic. And what happened was that instead of the energy taking shape, Italy's like a boot, it's a long country. And instead of it doing that, which is what they wanted, they got it into a bubble, a dome. Today, we call that the Vatican City. It's about 3 miles. But this energy started to leak out to the rest of Italy. And suddenly people started to write beautiful poetry, build telescopes, in their minds make machines. And right across Italy, suddenly this country was like 300, 400 years in ahead. Nobody, even today, the ordinary people don't understand this. So what the humans do is they give it a label. Humans think if they give it a label, they control it.
Right.
And they called it the Renaissance period.
Right.
Have you heard that term?
Of course.
Okay. So the Renaissance period was purely and simply this energy. Now this is bearing on you, and I'll explain why. Use my hands. This is the human consciousness rising up. This is 0 and that's 12. It's arbitrary, it doesn't matter. But what happened was that when these guys in about the 15th century did what they did, human consciousness was split like that. 2 halves of energy. This half became the cell phone, the motor car, the aeroplane, and the corporations took this and they just sell it back to the slaves on Earth.
Yes.
This part, which was magic, alchemy, fortune telling, healing people, this became taken by the secret societies and dived underground.
Hidden.
So the human consciousness took this division. But this entity, the smaller entities that have been troubling you, the ones that you see out the corner of your eye that are small, they have a free will, and they choose to believe there was no split. They choose to believe that this consciousness stayed like that. The reason they do that is that if they accepted it split, they would have to choose one side or the other where their timeline lives. So they can't do that because they could never come here, so they consider it that. Now that means we can play them at their own game because they are part of the belief system that iron is a magic metal that they cannot come near. So they free will choose to be fearful of iron.
Fabulous.
Okay.
And they never listen to
when
you.
you put the iron under the bed, you are excluding them from your auric field, your energy field. Human auric field, Kate, is like this. These creatures are called spiky energy. And when they come into your field, they disrupt your energy. They give you bad memory. Your short-term memory will get affected. They can affect you making money. They can ruin your jobs. They can ruin your relationships. They can do all of these things. Not because they hate you, but because what they're trying to do is to isolate you. Okay? hand under the bed keeps them away. First 3 weeks. Then one morning, your energy feels getting back to normal. So you put the necklace on. Right? We don't put the necklace on too early because I don't want to trap something in your energy field.
Okay.
Now you've got the necklace on. These creatures are desperate. Now they're going to try and get to you. They can't because you've got the necklace on. You might find a vase falling off a shelf or a book falling. That's just them being angry. Perfectly normal. Don't be concerned about it.
Okay.
I know ordinary people would be freaking out at this point, but this is the way it is.
Yeah.
Right? And then after 3 weeks, the law is 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 is the magic number. They have to go back to where they came from, and they're not allowed to come back to you in this lifetime. They come back in another lifetime, but this lifetime they can't.
Great.
Right. Now, when you were a young kid and you came to the Ouija board, if you imagine my cell is the Ouija board, and you come within a foot, there's a build-up of energy between you, like this, and what happens is anything electrical starts to go wrong. So the lights will go. If you had a television on, that would have affected. So it's just literally your energy field which is bouncing off and against this thing. Now, when you made the Ouija boards with your friends, did it work?
Yes.
What did it do? Tell me how it worked.
So we would choose something that was light enough, obviously, to move around, and something that had a pointed end because I needed to have an indication of what whoever was speaking was trying to say, and point at a letter.
Yeah.
So we would, I'm trying to think what I was even interested in learning or knowing. And to be frank with you, I can't remember. All I remember is asking if whatever I was communicating with had a name and being shaken at how the force with which the pointer moved.
And what name did it have?
I don't remember.
That's a shame.
I'm sorry.
So the friends with you, the girls with you, were they frightened by what they saw?
Yes. And they accused me of moving it.
Of course.
And I never
because
did.
They couldn't accept that it really was moving.
Right, and I never did. I never moved it.
Fine. Okay. That's helpful. Let's now look at the taller shapes that you've seen. How tall are they?
The 9 feet, maybe.
Fine. And are they quite thin?
Yeah.
Or are they quite big?
They're quite thin. They look like. Do you know what a daisy flower looks like?
Yes.
A daisy has a black circle and then just very slender petals that come out that are yellow. They look like a daisy that's been tipped on its back with its long petals coming down to the ground.
How interesting. Can I ask you now to get a pen and paper and just draw that for me and hold it up to the camera?
Absolutely. Oh, I'd be happy to. I actually, funny enough that you said that because my thinking about them was so prevalent about a year ago that I had to draw it. I don't know where that drawing is currently, so I'm just going to do one for you.
Yes, please.
But I certainly did do that. All right. And don't allow me to take too much of your time, Simon. I know you're really busy.
No, you've paid for a session.
All right. I'm going to lay my phone down for a moment, okay?
That's fine.
All right. This will be done. All right, almost finished.
Take your time. It's all right.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, are you ready to see something pretty weird? Okay. Very weird. So this is the closest approximation. Are you able to see it?
Back from the camera for me.
Are you able to see it there?
Yeah, now just bring it forward for me a little bit. Stop there.
Okay.
Right, tell me what the black mark is in the middle.
Haven't the slightest, except I would assume control center or brain.
Brain. Okay, very helpful. And have you only ever seen them front on?
No, it's very, very peripheral.
No, yeah. There's my hand from the front.
No.
There's my hand from the side. Have you ever
Oh,
seen
have I ever
something?
seen them front or side on? I can draw them from any direction, so I assume it's in every way.
So do they look the same in all ways?
Yeah.
Now, you know the petals, what you're calling the petals, do they seem to hang down, or do they hang down and move?
They're movement.
Excellent. And is the movement backwards and forwards or side to side? How do they move?
It's more like they don't have shoulders. They're not humanoid things. But
Yeah,
if
sure.
they were to have a shoulder, like a shoulder shrugging, like the
Yes. No,
going
that's
up and
excellent.
down like that.
No, that's fine. If you think of the Addams Family film, there was a character which was a very furry character. Can you remember that one? Like
Yeah, was it cousin It?
Yeah. Sort of similar to that, but taller.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay. All right. Well, this is an entity. This is not a demon.
Okay.
This is an entity and not a demon. I have never experienced it myself, but I have spoken to other people who have some years ago.
Okay.
So the iron won't get rid of that because that's different. The iron's going to get rid of the smaller creatures, which are actually more troubling for you.
Okay.
These taller ones have somehow opened a portal and come through to you because they don't come from this time frame at all. They're time travelers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because when you were in Atlantis, you went up through the time zones, you went up through the dimensions, and I think you've dropped in for tea, as we would say in Britain, with one of them, and they followed you back.
Oh.
So I don't see it as a problem, but I do see it that they're very powerful, and they could be a bit of a difficult.
It's wonderful that you say that, though, and let me tell you very, very briefly, because I've never been particularly afraid of.
So I come through.
Yes, take your time and don't worry about it. But I've never been particularly afraid of these things or this thing. But I said I should be afraid of this thing. It's bizarre.
Charlotte's just come. Hold on.
Please take your time.
Charlotte was supposed to go to university, but she's deferred.
Poor
because of
Charlotte.
COVID.
This is the worst year to ever go to college. Why would you bother? Poor girl.
Carry on anyway. I missed
So
that.
anyway, that's okay. No. What I was saying is it's always seemed bizarre to me because I feel like I should be afraid of whatever this thing is, but I don't have a fear response.
Okay, well, your brain says you should be afraid, but the soul in your body knows that you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
That's a fact. You're going to have to learn this. You actually outrank it.
Okay.
You outrank it. So you actually could give it orders.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You actually outrank it.
Okay.
All right, and when you step into your power, and of course, a lot of the New Age would be terrified of this, and they would say that, oh, you need to call on Archangel Michael. No, you don't. You actually just need to call on yourself. You outrank it.
Okay.
And knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to level the playing field here, tell you who you are, and they will do what you tell them because they can't go against you.
Okay.
Because the position that you hold within the hierarchy, that's why they're here. They're here because they're interested in you. And as long as you don't know the score, they've got the advantage on you.
Right.
But once you learn the score, they have to back off. So your brain says be frightened, but the soul says, no, I won't be. Now, what I've done is empowered you so that your brain now is curious and your brain will not be so frightened.
Wonderful.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. So anything else that is troubling you or difficult?
No. Those were you got all the main questions. You got all the questions and then things I hadn't even thought of for a long time.
Good. I'm going to give you my cell phone. Do you do WhatsApp?
I can do WhatsApp.
WhatsApp is free. You have to pay for it. There's no secure communication on the planet, but you are going to go through a big development.
Great.
And I'd be happy for you to message me whenever you want, when you want some advice.
Wonderful.
Okay, You need to work it out. My cell is 07
Okay.
982
Yep.
737
Okay.
156.
156.
So
Very
you go on
good.
WhatsApp, and if you go Google and say, I've got a friend in Britain, I want to go from cell to cell, Google will tell you you have to drop, I think, one of the numbers and replace it.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Go on WhatsApp, load WhatsApp, it's free. It's a free resource for you. If you have any issues, you get a very impartial words from me. You get anonymity from me. You can trust me. And if you just want to speak to me once a month, just text me, or every day, it's fine.
Exactly what I was going to ask. No, I'd like to make another appointment, but for a bit down the road, perhaps
That's
2 or
fine.
3 months down the road. Should I do it through Andy?
Okay. Well, what to do is, now you've got the number, you can message me on that,
Okay.
and I will book you directly. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting on the website to get booked in.
Right. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Simon. It's been very helpful.
It's a pleasure. But I think we have a saying in Great Britain, which is hold on to your hat. What that means is, you think you've developed, you are going to develop now really fast.
Oh God, even faster.
Yeah, well, you've got a lot of catching up to do.
Yes, true.
Okay? But you've got nothing to be fearful of. I see nothing bad.
Great.
I don't see anything bad. The biggest enemy is you, and you've got to believe in yourself a lot more. You've got to have a lot more self-confidence. Okay?
Okay. I'll do my best.
Okay, listen, lots of love.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care, bye-bye.
Awesome. All right, Parrot. All right, Parrot.
Oh, he gave you an hour and a half. I
Yeah.
wonder why.
What?
How'd it go?
Good.
Did you show my picture?
No.
You didn't talk about me once?
No.
You didn't talk about a boyfriend?
No, all he did was tell me things and ask me questions.
So, can we watch it?
Oh yeah, of course.
So how'd it go?
Oh my God, let me turn it off.